Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Lash of Lambs 13 from the entitled Parents Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit, and it says, my mother refuses to acknowledge my spinal cord injury isn't fixable. And I finally snapped at her. And before we do get into this story, there is a few trigger warnings on it of abuse, ableism, withholding medical equipment, and paralysis as well. So if you do want to skip the story, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description, along the timeline below. Thank you. My mother, 54, recently had a minor medical procedure done. Nothing invasive, but she did require stitches afterwards. She decided to get the procedure done while she was on family responsibility leave due to the fact that I, 16 female, was going for a major surgery to my hip, which, fair enough. I understand the logic behind that. However, this is where the story actually starts. 4 days after her procedure, I was 5 days post-op at this stage, she demanded that I take out her stitches because they were bothering her. I told her no, that the stitches were not ready to come out yet and that the wound had not healed enough. I have no formal medical training, but as someone who's had stitches and staples a lot myself, I could tell. Also, her stitches were in a place that would require me to kneel to remove them. And keep in mind, I was 5 days post-op after major hip surgery, so I physically wasn't able to do that. I also told her I was uncomfortable removing her stitches because we only had a pair of nail clippers and a tweezer and nowhere we could safely do it. So fast forward one day, she begrudgingly listened to me for the time being, and I thought that it meant the end of it. It was not. The next morning, I'm 6 days post-op now. The stitches have been in for 5 days. Around 10 AM, I am woken up by my mother screaming at me. Naturally, I rush to my parents' bathroom, where she was calling me from. I walk in, and my mother has ripped her stitches out with a pair of nail clippers and is bleeding. The thread from the stitches is still in her, but the wounds were ripped open. She immediately demands that I fix this situation, which, yeah, okay, I totally get. I immediately start on doing that, grabbing something to stop the bleeding and carefully removing the torn stitches with tweezers. This naturally required that I force myself to kneel to do so and caused me severe pain and my own wound to start bleeding again too, because, well, I was also supposed to be on bed rest. So, when I finish, I get back up. And this might be an overreaction from me, I don't know, but I blow up at her. I tell her that I told her not to take her own stitches out. I tell her that I explicitly warned her they were not ready to come out. I mean, I was pissed. She had disregarded everything I said to her, refused to accept my answer when I told her no, and forced me to kneel down in front of her and hurt myself because she couldn't handle having stitches for another day. Never mind that I had a wound in my hip that went down to the bone. Never mind that I had staples spanning across my entire hip. She wanted her stitches out, so had to take them out because it was the least I could do after she gave birth to me. I don't know if this truly belongs on here, but that felt kind of entitled to me. It's one of those stories where I feel like this is probably the very tip of the iceberg with mum's behavior in here. The whole spinal cord situation and the mum refusing to acknowledge it isn't fixable. The mum turning around and saying, Opie, it was the least Opie could do because she gave birth to a, the classic guilt trip manipulation. And the mum in this making her 16-year-old daughter into basically her personal nurse while denying her own permanent disability. Opie said that's entitled at the end. It's not, it's abusive. And again, I bet this is just the tip of her behavior as well, but Braille not included says, oh boy, she has issues. Not only could she have applied direct pressure to wherever the incision was, but she decided to go to the most traumatic route versus putting some Benadryl cream around the stitches to stop the irritation. I hope you went in to get seen after your wound started bleeding. Opie says I did not, but I did call a doctor and she said it was fine. Unless the staples bent, I could just change the bandage and ice the wound. Which I did, and actually use some wound cream. Burnley says, oh honey, that's so far past entitlement. It's abuse. Could she not find someone else to help her after a minor surgery instead of having her daughter who had major surgery? Who was supposed to be taking care of you after all of this? I'm so sorry you're going through all this. If you're not in Canada and want to move my mother, I will gladly adopt you. You sound like you have a good head on your shoulders. May not mean much from a stranger, but I'm proud of you, and I wish you all the best." Mrs. Murphy's cow says that's child abuse, and I suspect that's not the first time she's done something like that. Forcing a child into a serious adult situation is appalling and wrong. She caused you to cause damage to yourself because she's behaving like a 2-year-old. Is your father around? If he is, tell him what happened, what it did to you, and ask him for help. You need to get away from her until at least you're able to recover and heal from your own surgery. Can you go stay with him for a while, or another trusted relative or friend? Please do this so your hip can heal properly. There are so many people out there who've had hip surgery, and because they were not able/allowed to take proper care of themselves while healing, ended up with complications later, including more surgery. Please also tell a trusted teacher or counselor at school. They will know the proper channels to use to make sure your mother never does anything like this to you again. Opie replies saying, "I'm homeschooled, so telling a counselor is not an option, I'm afraid. As for my dad, he also lives in the house. He knows about what my mum did and he was super pissed. Gave her a really big chewing out, but the ordeal was over and there was nothing he could really have done. But he did take me out of the house for a while so I could get away from her and took me for lunch." Opie adds another post 5 months from the original and says basically what the title says. "I, 17 female, broke my back just over 2 years ago. My spinal cord suffered severe damage and it left me physically disabled. I can stand on my own and walk short distances, but doing so often puts me in excruciating pain. Over the last 2 years I've had 3 surgeries to try and repair the damage, and while they have lessened the pain in some areas, the full injury cannot be repaired. My mother, 55 female, refuses to accept this, and over the last 2 years has pushed me into more and more treatments, even if I didn't want them, claiming every time that this would be the one that cured me. Both I and my father have tried to tell her that the nerve damage is permanent, and that the best course of action is to simply try to preserve my back so I retain mobility as I get older, which is what 3 separate doctors have advised. My mother won't listen to us. She's become obsessed with trying to fix me and get me back to my old self. She keeps signing me up for treatments and programs without asking or after I've already said no. These treatments are usually exercise-based or based on holistic treatment and natural remedies, or even still experimental procedures. Most of them have only ever left me sore, if not injured. She also refused to let me have any accommodations. I can't use a cane, wheelchair, or anything else around her, and often refuses to let me sit or lay down when I'm in pain. Over the last year and a half, my condition has been deteriorating, but my mother acts like she hasn't noticed, just keeps booking my usual doctor's appointments. Now it's gotten to the point where she insists on being in the doctor's office with me because she believes that I won't give reliable information about my symptoms if I go in alone. Tonight, I just couldn't take it anymore and broke down crying, telling her to stop trying to fix me and just help. I begged her to stop pushing me, to just try and accept that I'm not able-bodied anymore. But she wasn't having it. She told me that if Paralympic athletes could do it, so could I. That I had to stop making excuses and that she only wanted what is best for me. I understand that denial is part of the grieving process, but I've already accepted it. I just don't know what to do anymore. I tried to be understanding, but she's really driving me to the end of my rope. So am I the arsehole for snapping at her? Another commenter says DOP, not the arsehole. This seems like medical abuse. She won't let you use a cane or wheelchair. That's insane, OP. You deserve so much better. OP says thanks. I'm technically allowed to use my cane, just not in the house, and unfortunately I'm not allowed to own a wheelchair. I borrowed one from my grandparents when I stay there or with other relatives, so I have asked her for one several times. And yeah, I really don't feel like I'm giving up. I just feel like I'm trying to accommodate and look out for future me, you know? Commenter says, not the arsehole, your dad needs to step up and tell your mum to knock it off. He needs to either make her listen or make her back off and leave you alone, rather than just throwing his hands up and saying, "Welp, I tried." No, he needs to say, "You are hurting our child because you refuse to accept the advice of 3 different doctors. This stops now." OP needs to be accommodated for their injuries and allowed to use assistive devices and laid down when they are hurt. OP says, my dad is trying. They've gotten into a lot of arguments about it. and he even refused to take me to treatment she scheduled because I didn't want to go. The problem is just that my mum won't listen, and aside from removing me from the house for short periods, there isn't much he can do. He's gotten me accommodations behind my mum's back, but we don't have all that many options. Commoner says not the arsehole. I'd ask my dad to get a divorce so you can have peace. Opie says he can't, unfortunately. My father is dependent on her too and can't physically take care of himself either. He also has a severe spinal cord injury, so even if that did happen, he wouldn't be able to care for himself, never mind me. Commoner says, talk to a trusted adult at your school. Seriously, this is horrifying. Opie says I'm homeschooled. I don't have the physical capability to attend regular school, so I do it online, and I was homeschooled since way before the accident. Messaging teachers personally is against school policy, so I unfortunately can't do that. Commoner says, do you have a Lions Club nearby? They have free wheelchairs. Opie says, I don't know what that is. I don't know if they exist here. I'm South African. Commoner says, did your mum have something to do with your injury, I assume it was? Is she being this way because of some sort of guilt? Opie says no. She wasn't even there when the accident happened. I was thrown off a horse, so there really wasn't anyone else involved. To another commenter asking if mum paid for the horse, Opie said no, it was a riding school horse. I led classes there. And to another commenter, Opie said she didn't have anything to do with the injury, but I feel like she might be carrying some sort of guilt because she wasn't there when it happened. I'm really not sure. My other theory is her own internalized ableism. Another commenter says denying your mobility aids is medical abuse. Yes, abuse. You have every right to your prescribed mobility aids. Opie says the problem is, I don't have a prescription. I've had to buy all the ones I have myself because my mother shuts me down every time I try to talk to the doctor about needing aids or assistance in any way. She just says that she'll provide it and changes the topic. I've never been able to talk about the full extent of my symptoms with the doctor without her interrupting me and saying I'm being dramatic. And I found most doctors don't bother to read the full injury report, so I'm stuck. Commoner says, I will bet that the mum is resentful because now she has two people to take care of. She's probably burnt out. Opie says, I never considered that before. Thank you. It makes a lot of sense. I'll talk to her about it. Maybe we can figure something out. Commenter asks, did you used to help your mum take care of your dad? I don't particularly think that she's being fair to you, but I think that there might be some underlying feelings on her part. I'm not sure she'll admit it to you though. Opie says no. He was able to take care of himself before my injury, but after my accident, his condition started deteriorating. And then, 3 days later, Opie updates again and says, couldn't figure out how to update a post, so I'm making a follow-up to the original post and shares the link. I talked with my mother and showed her some of the comments. She agreed that we could go to family therapy, and I am allowed to use a cane and walk her inside the house. We've also compromised that I could talk to the doctors on my own for most of the appointment. Then she should just come in the last few minutes and have a doctor give her a rundown. I've finally been able to explain the full extent of my symptoms to a doctor and have tests scheduled for later today that confirm my diagnosis. Any additional advice would be welcome and appreciated, and also thank you to the wonderful people for your understanding and insights. One more question asks OP. Info. What do you mean by saying you have tests scheduled that will confirm your diagnosis? This whole time you've been stating you have a known diagnosis and prognosis. Opie says I have several known diagnoses and prognoses. I'm referring specifically to ones that will be on paper to confirm the severity of my nerve damage, because while I've had doctors verbally confirm it, and I have prescribed medication to do with it, the actual level of damage wasn't on paper anywhere before because my mother wouldn't let me ask for it. She doesn't believe I have it. What an absolute horror story we're seeing right there. And all I can say is I really hope that it does improve in the future. I mean, the endings seem to be going in the right direction, but when you look back at everything that Opie has gone through so far, the denial that's actually happening, the refusal to let Opie use needed medical aids, etc., intervening in doctor's appointments and constantly trying to, air quotes, fix OP is madness. And there was a lot of people talking about, potential caregiver fatigue because of, dads in the same position as well, which could potentially explain some of the stuff, but it certainly doesn't excuse it at all. Absolute mad one there. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit from OKCut9597 and says, Am I the Arsehole Here for telling my wife she makes traveling no fun? So my wife, 38 female, and I, 36 male, have been together 8 years. We live in my home state of Arkansas. She is from San Diego. Every year she wants to visit home. We used to fly, but since we have a kid, 2 female, she now wants to drive. I have no problem using all my vacation days for this. She lives here. Traveling is a pain because she overpacks. Used to fill my CX-7 full, but work gave me a $900 car allowance and we used that to get a full-size Suburban. This time she loaded that full. I mean front passenger to the ceiling, so I can't see the mirrors full. We didn't use hardly any of it. Every stop I carried everything into the hotel because she was afraid it would get stolen. It's 3 days each way. Got through it, told her she makes traveling miserable because she is also super late. Tell her 10 a.m, she might arrive by noon. So every day we don't leave the hotel until 12. Then she insists we drive until midnight. Ugh, unfun. Anyway, this weekend I was sent on a work conference. They got me a sweet hotel room. Week at a nice resort. Super excited. We were going to go and leave the baby. Day before she cancels my mum watching to bring our child. Fills the Suburban full again. Mind you, it's my work trip. 5 days, 5 nights. Most of the stuff was just overpacking. She brought a tote of blankets, 1 of towels, 2 of her clothes, totes. I told her she makes it miserable. The hotel always gets cluttered and full. The night before we leave is always a mess trying to pack and her organizing stuff she brought that never gets used. She freaked out, told me I just want to go hook up and cheat at these things. I invited her, and she is filing for a divorce because I told her you're overpacking and insisting we fill every vehicle full and always being late makes me miserable. We were 3 hours late leaving to get to the conference, so I missed the networking opening night, which is where my industry people tend to clique up afterwards to a degree. I miss going to the best vendor events, etc. Because she insisted that I don't leave because she was overwhelmed with how messy the hotel room was. Mind you, it was all the stuff she brought, took out of totes and never used, and the toddler then destroyed. Am I the arsehole here? Edits. Yes, I'm involved in raising our child. Actually packed for our trip. Had 1 bag for baby to go to mum's. Toys, diaper, food, etc. A big bag, but 1 large suitcase. Had a bag packed for wife and 1 for me. Yes, she has ADHD. She always says she doesn't want to do this. Then trip comes and she does it. I'm not a cheater. She accused me of it last time I went solo. I'm exhausted. If she left me, I think I would be done with relationships. My own mental health is wrecked. My boss wasn't mad. He found the whole thing hilarious when I told him. He skipped half of the conference himself. My job wasn't threatened, but to me, it was. I tried the whole packing thing for her and me. I've tried to just accept her issues, but it's gotten worse. When we first got together, it was she needed a large checked bag for a 2-day trip to Las Vegas. Now she needs an entire Suburban for a week trip. One of the issues is the vehicle is so full. If it was just the back, I might be able to deal, but it's so full I can't even see the side mirror. I've expressed how unsafe that is and she doesn't care, just yells that I don't understand. Yes, she comes from a hoarder background. No fix, says to the OP, not the arsehole. Personally, I think your wife is crazy pants for wanting to drive 20 plus hours both ways between San Diego and Arkansas with a 2-year-old instead of flying. I've made that trip twice without kids and it was torture. I feel like she's making it harder for you all to travel, not easier. The bottom line is she went with you on a work trip, made you late, accused you of wanting to cheat and threatened you to divorce. None of these things are okay, OP. BW Smith says, I love long drives and making that trip alone or with my girlfriend or a trusty dog sounds like a perfect vacation for me. Doing it with a 2-year-old? Please, just kill me now. Bulbasaur Ranch says, does she always threaten divorce so casually? Next time tell her, sure, I'll call a lawyer tomorrow and start that up, and see her face drop at calling her stupid bluff. She sounds really annoying to travel with. No Communication says, is she also a hoarder because, And General Scratch says she's definitely got some kind of anxiety issue going on. Lots of warning signs in OP's post. She needs some mental health assistance for sure. Rage Against the Odds says this, insisting on going with the baby, overpacking, and then not letting him leave the room. Basically to a work function, then threatening divorce over the situation is not right. Puzzle Safe says the fact that she is impacting your job and career would be it for me. Not only did you miss events, but I can only imagine what your peers thought when you rolled in late or were seen taking the kitchen sink from your Suburban to the hotel room. I would also never drive a car where I can't see out the back window and the side windows. I literally would not back out the driveway. Not the arsehole, but you need to grow a spine and deal with this. If I were your boss, I'd be extremely unhappy with you showing up late to a conference that I'm paying you to attend. ETA, the more I reread OP's post, the more concerned I am for his child and him. He can't safely drive because all the crap in the car inhibits his ability to see the mirrors. All of that crap could seriously harm the poor child in case of an accident. His wife wants to drive till midnight. What about the baby being able to have a semi-normal bedtime routine while on the road? Dinner, bath time, snuggle time, and bedtime. And what's the deal with driving 3 days each way to San Diego rather than flying? It is statistically much safer to fly rather than drive this distance. But OP's wife is messing with his career. I can only imagine the gossips and jokes going around the hotel and convention as he's seen hauling a bunch of crap in and out the hotel room. And he missed very important events because of her. I mean, she couldn't handle how messy the hotel room was because of all of her crap. What the fuck? This is where I think the OP might be the arsehole. He's on a work trip. His company pays for their Suburban. The company paid for the hotel room. I wonder if he gets a meal allowance that his wife will use. He is being paid to be there to work, and he let his wife sabotage that. He chose not to go to vendor events because of her. He chose to be 3 hours late to the conference because of her. What his boss has learned is that he cannot be relied upon. What his boss has learned is that the new rule might need to be put in place that only the employee may occupy the company-paid hotel room so that situations are less likely to occur in the future. If I were OP's boss, I would be livid. It would impact his future employment and growth in the company. We'd be having a meeting as soon as we were back in the office. So it was a month later that OP came in with her update and says, about a month ago, I told my wife she makes traveling no fun. I posted before we left for our drive home. Since then, it's been a whirlwind. We got home, I wanted to talk, she said we were fine. I called a counselor and got us more couples therapy and set her up with one who specialises in trauma that causes hoarding. She did not call a lawyer. She threatened again, so I dialed one on her phone and put it on speaker and walked away. Not my best moment. However, since then we have attended 4 sessions together and she has went 5 times apart. I spent all my savings to hire some people to come in and help her clean for a week. We threw away 2 40-yard dumpsters fairly full of stuff, cleaned out her car, the one she puts my daughter in daily, out, and established a routine of only her purse and diaper bag go up front, the rest is trunk only. I've had to go through it daily and remove stuff. I once let it go 4 days and it was full again. We're going to see her family in December. I made it very clear if the vehicle is loaded full, I'm going to the airport and flying with our daughter and she can make the trip herself. We made the packing list already. The boot of the Suburban can be full, but nothing above the boot cover, and nothing besides a small cooler and purse and diaper bag up front. I bought refundable tickets for my daughter and I to fly from San Diego if she falls the vehicle and throws a fit. Now, how is our quality of life? She seems happy. Her family says she is happier than ever. She has always wanted a clean house and car, but fights me when I clean up, even now as she was about to do it. I am miserable. I'm constantly picking up the car, the yard, the house. I let it go 2 days once and got screamed at for sabotaging her. I talked to a lawyer myself, not to move forward but to protect myself. My boss actually has me in line for a promotion, which is great. Only problem is our marriage ends and she moves back to California. Then I'll be stuck in a 2-year deal at work. So I'm currently very nervous about career advancement when I am miserable personally. Edit, forgot to add the cheating part. She confessed she was nervous I would cheat because I am not the ugliest guy around and you work hard. So if you hate me, then you would have options. I have no idea if she is cheating, and I'm kind of at a point when I don't care. I'm 100% checked out. Edit 2, so many responses. Why haven't I cut the cord? Because she is my wife and we said for better or worse. How can I walk away from her when she's not doing okay without giving it The good old college try? Plus, I was raised divorce is not an option. I gave myself until Christmas 2026. If it's not better then, I'm pulling the plug. I'm picking up every day because counseling said it would help. And also people rightfully pointed out last time my daughter doesn't deserve this. I want a clean home, so I do it myself. Is it defeating to come home every day and the kitchen table is covered with random stuff she got out because she was going to bake but never did, and the bed is covered with totes of clothes she was going to sort? Sure. Do I want to go through the guest room every 3 days because she destroys it, not figuratively, but gets stuff out or brings things into it? And I want it to be guest ready at all times? No, I don't, but it's a price I pay. If I don't do it, our house is shit, and our kid doesn't deserve it. If I leave, I'm hurting someone with mental illness. All I am doing right now is destroying someone, myself. And when I finally walk away, I can honestly say I did my best. Yes, I'm documenting her car and the house when I get home and when I leave. I'm probably enabling right now, but if it goes the way it probably will, I'm going to be fighting to keep my daughter. Part of this is going above and beyond, is so that I can be the better parent, because people before were right. I wasn't protecting my kid. As for her claiming I'm sabotaging, I must have worded it wrong. When I clean up, she is mad because she was going to do it in a minute, even though it's been days. Those wondering about work, I'm full-time. She works full-time now as a teacher, started back a few days ago. I'd hoped she would stay home full-time to raise our daughter, because that's why I took this job. Don't love it, don't enjoy it, but it pays the bills and provides a good quality of life. But it's what she says she needs. And for the people messaging me about using the word boot, I'm from Arkansas, but there is this thing called a plane. I have worked all over and even enjoyed a TV show or two that wasn't Walker, Texas Ranger. I also call carts at the stores trolleys, partly to mess with people and partly because it entertains me, mainly because it's become a habit. Commenter says to OP, this doesn't sound like she's doing any work to help improve things, but you have somehow been convinced to do more, which is not sustainable. Have either of you addressed her verbally abusing you in therapy? Cornstick says, document everything, and I mean it. Even if you aren't sure, start documenting. Put cameras up, get recordings, photos, timestamps. Things will 100% not be safe with a baby alone. Plus, cannot leave to California without a judge or anyone once filed. Protect yourself. Scarves says, this is the answer. As miserable as it is, OP should take that promotion with a 2-year contract and spend that 2-year period documenting everything on every level. Wait a few days before cleaning to have evidence of how bad she lets it get. Definitely use cameras. And after 2 years of advancing at work and gathering evidence, divorce and go for full custody. It's sad, but hoarders almost never get better. And it's also not sustainable for him to clean up her mess together. Even the 2 years is going to be hard as shit. Otakel says, run. This woman will destroy your life and leave it in ruins. You deserve to be happy. And the final commenter says, take the promotion. She can't just move and take your kid with her if you don't want her to. If you are really miserable and your wife still doesn't do anything to keep everything clean, maybe it's time to call the lawyer again. It was when I saw OP is checked out, it just felt like, that's the end for me, because usually when we see these stories and someone says they've checked out, there's pretty much no coming back from that. The big issue is here, clearly she needs some kind of mental help, but it doesn't sound like she's getting much or not reacting well to it anyway. But what do you guys make of this situation? How would you deal with it if you was OP? Would you be out of it? Would you not? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.